This is Doug Evans, President and CEO of your Palm Beach Guide, President and CEO of the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce, not to be confused with any other Chamber of Commerces here in South Florida. It is a absolutely glorious day here in sunny South Florida. And today I have two guests with me, which I'm very excited about. They've got some big news also, which is hot off the press, which is kind of a pun, so I'll tell you about that. I have Fernando Wong here, which is this wonderful company who's been around for at least 20 years, if I had to guess. Who is, I want to get it right because I don't know everything in the world, architectural landscape, architectural engineering, so closer to the microphone, we'll make sure you're on here.
Yes, absolutely.
And Tim Oliver, correct?
Johnson.
Tim Johnson, I'm
But
sorry.
I've been called a lot worse than that, so I'll take it.
It's for Tim Johnson. Tim, thank you so much. Guys, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, obviously you're a valuable member of the Chamber. What I love about your company, and I only speak the truth when I say things anymore because I'm too old to not speak the truth, is your reputation is not just Palm Beach, which is, I think, where you got your start. Is that correct? Is that a
We
good
actually
guess?
started in, it's a good guess, but we started in Miami Beach and we opened up an office here almost 15 years ago.
Wow.
So we've been here a long time, but we started in Miami Beach. We still have an office in both places.
Miami Beach, which is also a huge market.
Yes.
But I think for you guys, with your company, what's happening here is this explosion of people moving here to the Palm Beaches, not just the island, but to the Palm Beaches, which means people are buying houses. I see people tearing down houses, which means they're ripping up all their architectural landscaping also. So I'm assuming things have been good for you as far as business growth here in Palm Beach and the Palm Beaches?
Huge, and I think what you've seen, and we've certainly seen in the 15 years we've been here, is how it's expanded so much. And that now, we did one of the first big houses on Flagler in West Palm Beach on the
Wow.
water. And it used to be, people had an idea that you should really be on the island, and I think that's completely gone now. And Palm Beach has just become this giant West Palm Beach and everything, and there's just a lot of money and a lot of renovation, a lot of new building coming.
You know, that's the second time I've heard that in 2 days.
Interesting.
Which you know, there was always that chasm between Palm Beach and West Palm Beach. But I remarked yesterday, and it might make me not popular in some circles, it's one community now.
It is.
It really is. And the houses on North Flagler at some point in time, you could buy them for no money.
Yeah.
I mean, but now it's millions of dollars. So are you seeing as much activity on the island as you are in West Palm Beach, or is that more now because of the growth of market and people buying properties there?
The bulk of our business is still on Palm Beach Island, and it's turned into really big projects. Like we're doing Tarpon Island,
Oh, wow.
which is the island
That's
that's
huge.
for $150 million. So we're doing big projects like that, and so most of our stuff is still on Palm Beach Island. But there are some giant projects in West Palm Beach.
Yeah, there have to be. I see
Yeah.
that. So you talk about Tarpon Island, and you know, for the listeners and the viewers who are seeing this is an island off the island of Palm Beach that sold for $150 or $175 million. Now, gentlemen, to me, when I saw the photos, it looked like it was perfectly done already. So when somebody buys a property like this, they come to you. What do they want to do?
Privacy.
Privacy.
Privacy is quite exposed at the moment, but we come out with a design that can allow views of the water, but give them some privacy in some specific areas. So primarily it's that and beautification overall of the new design that I've put into one.
Now that would never have occurred to me because Tarpon Island is an island off an island, so it's pretty somewhat distant, unless you're going by in a boat, I would think, kind of thing, or a drone or something like that. So privacy, and so basically with a project like that, are you adding to what currently exists, or are you starting over? What would you do in this situation?
We did 2 rounds of design. So one was my vision, and then we end up adjusting as the need of the client. Didn't want to rip out anything quite drastic as I was suggesting,
Yeah.
but overall is pretty much a brand new design.
Yeah, we're adding a lot. And so Tarpon Island was bought by a developer, and they made the house 2/3, beautiful house, they made 2/3 bigger, and they took out all the landscaping. And so it's very, very visible, and it's funny you should mention the boats, because that is a problem. We do Barton and Gray, those little
Sure.
Hinkley boats. We always take our boat as close as we can and go by and check people, and everybody does too. And the homeowners are very nice people, and they have people coming up and kayaking up and asking them questions, and if they know who the homeowners are. So they
Wow.
just need a bit of privacy, and so we're just going to give them a little bit of relief, because now it's completely open. They took out all the landscapes.
See, I've not seen the photos of that, so that now makes sense to me, because I saw the before photos before they took things out, or what they've done there maybe with AI or something. I've not seen that. And when I think about your profession and what you do in this field, there are other houses like on the island in the North End that are very much exposed also to the intercoastal waterways. And I'm assuming for your expertise, that's also, is privacy probably one of the things you deal with most in architectural landscaping?
Yes, and it's also enforced by town regulations because the town wants to keep the peace in between neighbors. So most of the privacy happens either on the side of the property or in the front. And some viewings of the intercoastal waterways are preserved, but sometimes people do prefer more filtered sunlight through the canopy of palms or whether to the canopy of trees.
But there's always a competition between the homeowner that usually wants some sort of privacy. They want to see views, but they want privacy. And the architect, which wants no landscape because they don't want to cover up their masterpiece. But we, in our office, we talk about, we have a saying that the architecture is the picture and the landscape's the frame. And our job is to highlight the architecture and not cover it up. So we're sympathetic to that. But there's a tension between homeowners that they don't want to be seen,
Sure,
and architects who want their work seen. So we deal with that a lot.
And is there a third level of shall we say, a third person involved, which is the town of Palm Beach? Now, the town of Palm Beach, of course, I was at the town council meeting this month. I go every month to see what's going on there. The restrictions with the town of Palm Beach, you also have to manage that also, correct?
It's very difficult. In one sense, from a professional point of view, the design professionals and the attorneys in Palm Beach are beneficiaries of a system that I think is kind of out of control, because they make it very difficult for the homeowner. But you have to have an architect, a landscape architect, and an attorney, to get these things through. And then, fortunately, Fernando was a landmarks commissioner for 5 years.
Oh, that's perfect. So you know the people and you know the system.
So that helps, but and it's also very different. It's very difficult for people that come outside of Palm Beach. A lot of times architects will come from Fort Lauderdale or Miami, and they won't know people, and they won't sort of have the aesthetic, the way that people on the committees like it, and they'll go back 4 or 5 times, or you'll see people that they give up. So I think that's unfortunate. It's important. Palm Beach is such a special place. I think it's important that we preserve it, and it's wonderful we have these committees, and I know from Fernando's work on it, it's a thankless, very difficult
It's
job.
terrible. It's terrible.
It's a lot of time, which is why we just got so busy after 5 years. Fernando had to step down. But I think we're in a period of regulatory overzealousness, and I think the town needs to step back a little bit, because what tends to happen is with all these projects, there's this famous phrase, after CO. So they're so picky in some of the things that people go back and you kind of make lawbreakers out of everybody.
After it's over.
Yeah, after it's over.
However, there is a beautiful example that was just recently finished, is right above a restaurant in Worth Avenue called Le Ville Bouquet.
Yeah.
They did an incredible
Yeah, it's
renovation,
amazing,
and
yeah.
it's a 3-story renovation that was set back, and it just adds so much beauty to that
I agree.
beautiful via.
I agree. I'm not mixed on this, because I want to make sure we preserve the integrity of the island, because it is such a special place. And I think from listening to what they're going through, which you deal with daily, they have between 1,000 and 2,000 building permits open all the time. And now that's a problem in Palm Beach right now for those who are listening and watching, and that the traffic into Palm Beach now, I think 78,000 vehicles a day come across the bridges, and it's crazy. So they're trying to figure that out, and I suspect they'll try to figure other things out also for folks who are in your professional field. But I want them to preserve it, but also make it workable, because when you come across the bridges into town, it's gorgeous.
Yes.
And I travel a lot like you gentlemen do, and I can't think of any place else.
No, it's really the
That is
most
like this.
beautiful town in the United States.
It is. I try to think of Beverly Hills, but no, it's because it's tied up to West Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. El Paseo Drive in the desert, no, it's still, that's a kind of like, it doesn't exist like this in its integrity. So when you have this, do you have a part of your team who goes and works with the town council or ARCOM or those folks to try to figure out what you can do next?
We do, and I have to say, the town does a wonderful job of being available to help us, get through the process. I think, thinking about what you're saying, they have done a remarkable job. It is one of the most beautiful places in the world, and they have a difficult task in that they've got to balance, the needs of people buying houses and keeping the integrity of what Palm Beach is meant to be, and also just managing this explosive growth. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we are facing us. We were at a wonderful chamber lunch,
Yeah.
and I believe it was the mayor of Palm Beach County.
Correct, yes.
And I'd asked him about traffic, and one of the interesting things which I didn't realize is there's nothing legally you can do. Too much traffic is not a reason not to build something.
No.
So, and that's part of the issue, kind of we've come full circle where we started with Palm Beach and West Palm Beach becoming this one entity.
One entity.
Because we're so connected to West Palm Beach, and West Palm Beach seems to have an unlimited appetite for these giant buildings.
They do.
And we actually sold an office, we were on Pine Street.
Okay.
And it's Olara.
Sure.
And it was great for us, and we bought a couple things on Antique Row, and that's where our new office is. But Olara is beautiful.
Yes.
But they bought up both sides of the street. It goes all the way from Flagler to South Dixie, and it's a giant, giant development. And I think there's going to be thousands of people. It's a hotel and condominiums and all this stuff. So it's great, and West Palm Beach, it's great that it's really turning into this little metropolis. But where do all these people go? I mean, that 78,000 people coming over onto this little island.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to expand the airport.
Yeah.
We thought about that also, because the amount of people coming in here. But for you as a successful business in Palm Beach and Miami Beach, the more people come to the market, the more they buy. It's great. It's better for you.
It is better.
And you get your basket full of all kinds of projects. And I suspect, what would force you to turn a project down? Because you guys are really high profile and experts, and I'm sure there have been things that have come to you and said, we just can't do that, or it's not what we do.
We do turn projects down quite often, and one of the biggest reasons is our model is to stay small. So we have 10 people total.
Wow.
And but we do probably about 30 projects at a time, given that our projects take a couple of years. The biggest reason is Fernando's genius, and Fernando knows immediately how we go to these giant properties, and Fernando knows it's almost immediate how it should be laid out.
See it,
It's
yeah.
incredible. So that saves a lot of time. But the reason we have to turn things down is we never want that not to happen, and we don't want anybody else doing design. So the thing that's made us successful is that. So if you hire us, you get Fernando and you get myself, and there's obviously a project manager, but it's Fernando's design. Fernando does all the design for every single project. So we turn things down if sometimes we just don't have the capacity to do it. Other times, if someone comes in, we're known for a more formal look, a more traditional Palm Beach look,
Sure.
and formal English and Italian and French gardens. That's not what they teach in landscape architecture school. What they teach in landscape architecture school is it should be those amoebas from God, and it's all natives and everything else, which is fine. And there's Raymond Jungles is a brilliant man, and they teach his stuff in schools, and he's a wonderful man too, and a very, very talented designer. And he's doing Phipps Ocean Park.
Oh, sure.
It's beautiful, but it's all native, and it's not what we do. We do include natives, and we think that's very important for the environment and everything else. And but we have a certain look. So if somebody comes in and says that they want an all native thing, that they should, give somebody like
else.
Go talk to Raymond, who's a genius. So that's the reason, and then I think that sometimes they have to really buy into what Fernando does and what Fernando wants, because he's very passionate about it, and if there's a lot of sort of nitpicking and changing, he loses that passion.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with interior designers or architects. If you hire somebody at a certain level, you need to like what they do and not want to micromanage it. So
Correct.
those are
And I think with the people who move here, they're highly educated.
Yes.
They have resource.
Yes.
And they know what they want.
Yes.
I think the nightmare for you is the ones who say they know what they want, and then all of a sudden they don't. And then it's every day. We've seen on
How do
TV
you know?
shows. Because I think I know some of these people who, like Fernando, I guess in construction they call them change orders. I don't know what they call them in your professional field, but it starts to go awry. And if it starts to go awry with you with a customer, have you ever fired a customer?
Yes. It's rare, but we have. Because it's not fair to the customer, it's not fair to us, and it's in any business, when you're spending an inordinate amount of time with somebody that's making you sad and spending resources when you have other clients that love what you do and it's fun and more lucrative, you've got to cut that loose. Reputationally, you hate to do that, because if you fire somebody, you've got somebody's out there talking and,
They'll talk.
well, and I don't know what the adage is, but if you have a good experience, you tell 2 people. If you have a bad experience, you tell 24.
Exactly.
But I've learned, I was very afraid to do that, but I've learned as we've grown, and we've been around for 20 years, that you have to, sometimes you just have to cut people loose. It's very rare, and there's a
He
law.
always dreaded.
It's no fun.
No.
It's no fun. And but you said sometimes you have to do it because it will destroy his integrity, his design. Let's talk about somebody we have in common here. A nice little lady named Martha Stewart.
Ah, yes.
And I had mentioned you guys when we first got here today that I had a chance to work with her a couple of years in a row in New York City running a foundation. And I understand that you just published a book, and the divine Martha Stewart wrote the introduction.
Yes.
So tell me about Martha, your friendship with her, which is great. I'm so excited about that, and the book, because I want to hear all about this.
Well, the book is called The Young Man in the Tree, and I wrote it.
Ah,
And it's about 20 years of Fernando's work. It's all tropical. About a third of it is in the Bahamas. We do a lot of work in Lightford Key and Harbor Island.
wow.
A third of it is in the Miami area, and then a third is Palm Beach. And Fernando met Martha. He did a TV show with her, which is still on HGTV and Discovery Plus, called Clipped. And basically, it was a ripoff of the British Bake Off.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, of course.
So
Clipped.
this one, it was, instead of baking things, they had Martha and Fernando judge topiary teams.
I was gonna guess that. Okay.
That was really, really nice. The 7 contestants, all very, very talented. Oh my God, it happens in Terrytown, in this wonderful state, and it was in the fall, so sometimes they have to work in the middle of muddy areas, and it was hard for me to see, but they got everything done, and they did a great show. So
I love it, clipped. I was gonna guess it's like they're clipping hedges basically, with topiaries.
Yes.
And so with the book, the 3 sections, is it out? It's in print now, correct?
Yeah, it came out October 15th.
Wow, right recently.
Right, we're ready, yes. And we just stayed with Martha, and we did her podcast in Bedford, and had a very, very good time with her. And she's been a very, very generous friend to us. And we met her, she invited us to breakfast.
Oh,
And
nice.
the next morning, and somebody was planning a dinner party for us in Southampton, and she said, "Can you come to breakfast tomorrow morning at 8?" And I immediately said yes, because I knew that if we didn't do it, and there was another guy who was another co-star who said no, never talked to her again. So
okay.
it's a tough world.
It is a very tough world.
But we went to the breakfast. We had no place to stay that night, so we finally found a hotel, and then went to the breakfast, and it all worked out. And thank God,
yeah.
she wrote the forward to her.
She actually came to Florida and did the All Backs luncheon.
Of course, yes.
And she was so generous. She donated all of her fees for the group, and she did a wonderful show.
She is a very generous person.
And you have some experience.
Yeah, and I worked with her a couple of years on the road raising money for a foundation, and she was so nice and so sweet. And when we talk about producing an event, she was involved in every detail in a great way. She says this is how she was no demands whatsoever, and generosity of spirit, kindness, time, talent, treasure. And of course, I love Martha. I get her magazines, all stuff. I'm a big fan. So gentlemen. So Fernando, I want to quickly. What's your background? Where did you come from?
I'm from Panama. I was
Okay.
born in Panama to a Chinese immigrant and Panamanian lady. So that's the mix that you can see. But then I studied architecture and interior design, and then through also another life that I had that was in sports.
Sports.
Exactly. I was a swimmer since I was 8 until 18, and then until 24 I practiced pentathlon.
No
That
way.
sort of like was the reason why I was hunger for travel.
Yeah.
And then that led me to a vacation here, and then I got a job offer, and that's kind of how it started. That was 24 years ago.
Wow. And how long have you guys been together working?
20 years.
Wow.
And
long
we
time.
are, we're partners in business and partners in life. And so
Good.
Fernando and I met in 2001 in Miami Beach,
Super.
and we started the business in 2005.
That's great.
Yeah.
And it's been joyful the entire time. The couple together, I hope. No bumps in the road.
Interesting
ever.
thing about that, Doug, it has been joyful, and we do enjoy working together. When I was growing up, my parents were together all the time. I thought that was so weird. I never wanted to be like that. Now we're together 10 times more than, because you become your parents. No
Of
matter what you
course.
do.
Of course.
But the great thing about it is we never argue, bicker, or fight about personal things, only about business.
That's great.
So it's good. You have to fight about something or you're not alive.
That's the way it should be. Guys, this is Fernando Wong, and of course, do you have a website?
Yes, it's FernandoWongOLD.com.
Got it. The book is available online on Amazon
Yes.
and in bookstores if you're listening here in Palm Beach at your favorite local bookstore. And of course, if you happen to be attending any of our events, we'll make sure people know about it. But thanks for coming in today.
Doug, thank you so
and
much.
your generous time, and of course, being members of the Chamber. We appreciate it because to have such a high-profile designer organization to us just makes us so joyful and grateful and happy, and it means the world to me. So thank you very much.
Well,
for
it's
doing
such a fantastic organization, and you have done such an unbelievable job since you got here. So we're grateful to your organization and grateful to you.
It's very kind of you, and we're going to make it better. You have been listening to and watching Your Palm Beach Guide. I'm Doug Evans. I'm the president and CEO of a nice organization called the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. Been around for 96 years, and so there's another 96 to go yet. So thanks for listening, and check out our podcast wherever you find your Spotify, find it, upload it, share it, move it around on YouTube, whatever. We'd love to have you check out us again. Have a great day.